So let's talk about the Wii for a second. Because Nintendo announced the system's successor last E3, it's pretty clear this thing is coming up on the end of its lifespan. So how did the most unfortunately named video game system in history fare? Well, that depends on who you ask, and if you ask me, it did terrible. I'll prove it. Off the top of your head, give me 5 games you really, truly enjoyed for the Wii. Stop listing them off as soon as you have to think about it. Go on, I'll wait. Okay, you done? Now I bet you at least 3 of those titles you just brought up were directly published by Nintendo. Nobody gave a rat's ass about literally half the Wii's library, and that's because the system gained a terrible reputation for shovelware, mediocre games that were put out there just to be put out there and make money. So the problem isn't finding an obscure game on the Wii, it's about finding one that's actually good. And I think I may have done just that. I think. Heavenly Guardian is the story of Sayuki. She's a snow goddess, and as such, has power over ice. Snow goddesses also apparently don't own combs because it looks like a strand of her hair has gained consciousness and is trying to detach itself from the rest of her head. The downside to her lineage, though, is that man tends to fear what he doesn't understand, and thus, the goddesses are shunned by the greater part of humanity. A bit of an inconvenience considering Sayuki sorta has this huge crush on one of the village boys who's also been cursed by a demon. Eager to help, and hopefully win his heart, she sets off on a magical journey to find ingredients to a potion that'll cure his condition. You may be wondering why this concoction's components can only be found by slaying huge monsters in impossibly out-of-the-way locations, but what you should be asking is why every possible nationality's version of hell is trying to stop you. What did this kid do? Is his name Isaac or something? Anyways, if you're wondering how Heavenly Guardian plays, think like a shoot-'em-up as told by Legend of Zelda. You're moving around in a 2D world from a bird's-eye view, but your only weapon is projectile-based. Now, this may actually look familiar to those of you with fond childhood memories of a game called Kiki Kai Kai, better known as Pocky and Rocky outside of Japan. Well, here's a cool bit of trivia for you. Turns out, Heavenly Guardian was originally supposed to be called Kiki Kai Kai World, a modern iteration of the cult classic franchise. However, Taito, now owned by Square Enix, canned the project and told their affiliates to do the same. Not wanting to lose years of work, though, UFO and Starfish decided to keep the engine, but change the characters, setting, and story to make an original IP, and thus, Heavenly Guardian was born. So what separates the two? Have years of gameplay innovation improved the experience? Well, yeah. Slightly, but yeah. What I immediately like about this game is how it handles the upgrade system. Once you collect a crystal of a certain color, you just have to keep collecting that color to make your overall weapon strength more powerful. After which, you can switch over to the other guns at will without fear of losing your progress. Something that can't be said about certain other shooters that shall remain nameless. None of that crap where your gun is downgraded if you get hit, either. I never understood that. If I'm having a hard time, it seems a bit counterintuitive to take away my ability to competently fight back. In Pocky and Rocky, you automatically shot in the direction you faced. It's the same here by default, but point that Wiimote at the screen, and now you can shoot in that direction and, wait for it, move in a completely different one. Oh yeah, can't do that with a D-pad. Even the 2-player option made the jump. A buddy can join in as your sister, Koyuki, and one other person makes a world of difference, especially if they're at your skill level. However, there's one small hitch to this mode. The story changes to have it make sense why Sayuki's sibling is tagging along. Turns out you're no longer trying to save a loved one, and instead, you're competing in what's basically a divine beauty pageant. Yeah, not quite as exciting, is it? This turns the co-op into more of a competitive mode, with each player trying to snag as many snowballs as possible. Almost forgot to mention those, didn't I? Enemies will drop snowballs sometimes. When you have at least 5, you can shake the Wiimote to summon a blizzard that'll freeze everything in its path. Sure, it's a cool ability, no pun intended, but what you may not know is that if you use it in the right place, you discover hidden snowboys that spit out bonus ammo. Not only that, if you find all 10 in a level, you unlock that level's boss for free play anytime from the main menu. So which is better, Pocky and Rocky or a Heavenly Guardian? Well, that depends on what you want out of a shooter. Are you the fast, frenetic type of player who likes to blast through everything in your path? Then stick to the classics. But if you're like me and are the patient, methodical type who likes to study patterns and exploit the weaknesses in them, then congratulations, Heavenly Guardian is the perfect, shoot! I don't know what to call this. Is it an action-adventure game? A shmup? A platformer? Or all of them combined? No, this is one of those really cool games that falls into a genre uniquely its own. Well, almost uniquely its own. Is it perfect? No. Do I understand why the cheesy anime storyline and English translations didn't appeal to more people? Yes. But for what it's worth, Heavenly Guardian is a very good whatever it is. So does that mean this is the really good obscure Wii game I've been looking for? Not quite. See, Heavenly Guardian is also available for the PS2, and because that version uses dual analog sticks instead of crappy motion controls for the 360-degree shooting, it's instantly 100 times better. Well, I'll find this elusive prey eventually, and when I do, you guys will be the first to know.